In 2006, three founders turned down a billion-dollar acquisition offer from Yahoo. Everyone thought they were insane. Investors begged them to take it. Wall Street analysts called it financial suicide. The company? Facebook. The founders, Mark Zuckerberg and his team, they were right. But here's the thing. For every Zuckerberg who bets against the odds and wins, there are thousands of founders who make the exact same decision and lose everything. So what separates genius from delusion? The answer isn't what you think. Smart people make catastrophically bad decisions all the time. WeWork's Adam Neumann convinced investors his company was worth $47 billion before it collapsed. Elizabeth Holmes fooled world-class investors with fake blood tests. Travis Kalanick built Uber into a giant, then destroyed his own career with toxic leadership. These weren't idiots. They were brilliant minds who built billion-dollar companies from nothing. So what's happening in the brain of a founder that turns intelligence into self-destruction? Let's start with the first psychological trap: overconfidence bias. There's a famous study from Duke University. Researchers asked 2,000 founders to estimate their company's chance of success. 80% said their company had a 70% or higher probability of succeeding. The actual success rate? About 10%. Now, here's what's fascinating. This isn't stupidity, it's a survival mechanism. If you were realistic about the odds of building a billion-dollar company, you'd never start one. You need irrational confidence just to begin. Psychologists call this optimism bias. Your brain systematically overestimates the probability of positive outcomes and underestimates risks. It's the same mechanism that makes people think they won't get in a car accident, won't get divorced, won't get cancer. But here's the trap. The same overconfidence that gets you to quit your job, max out your credit cards, and work 80-hour weeks is the exact same psychological bias that makes you ignore red flags later. When investors tell you your unit economics don't work, your brain doesn't hear, "we have a problem." It hears, "they don't understand my vision." When customers complain about your product, you don't think, "we need to pivot." You think, "they're not the right customers." The confidence that built your company becomes the arrogance that destroys it. The second trap is even more insidious: the sunk cost fallacy. Imagine you've spent 3 years building a product. You've sacrificed relationships, sleep, savings. You've poured your entire identity into this idea. And then the data comes back. Users aren't engaging. Revenue isn't growing. Every metric screams, "this isn't working." Normal logic says, pivot. Cut your losses, try something new. But your brain doesn't process it that way. Instead, it asks, if I quit now, does that mean the last 3 years were a waste? And that question, that fear of wasted time, keeps you locked in a failing strategy. This is the sunk cost fallacy. Psychologists Hal Arkes and Blumer demonstrated this in a classic study. They found that people who paid full price for a basketball season ticket attended more games when sick or in bad weather than people who got free tickets. Why? Because they'd already invested money. Their brain couldn't tolerate the idea of wasting that investment, even if the money was already gone. Founders experience this on steroids. You haven't just invested money, you've invested your ego, your identity, your life's purpose. Admitting your idea isn't working feels like admitting you wasted years of your life. So your brain does something remarkable. It doubles down. It invents new reasons why the strategy will work. It finds edge cases in the data. It waits for just one more quarter. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to leave. Because now you haven't just wasted 3 years, you've wasted 4, then 5, then 6. The cost is sunk, but your brain can't let go. The third psychological trap: the confirmation bias and the echo chamber. Here's how it works. When you start having success, you raise a round of funding, you get some press, you hit your first revenue milestone, something changes. The people around you start treating you differently. Your employees look up to you. Your investors validate your vision. Your Twitter followers call you a visionary. You get invited to speak on panels. Journalists quote you. And very slowly, without realizing it, you stop hearing the word no. This is confirmation bias in action. Your brain naturally seeks information that confirms what you already believe and ignores information that contradicts it. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning. You're not looking for truth, you're looking for validation. And the more successful you become, the tighter the echo chamber gets. You fire people who disagree with you. You stop reading critical feedback. You surround yourself with yes men who tell you what you want to hear. Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates, calls this the tyranny of the ego. Your ego needs to be right more than it needs to succeed. And the smartest founders, they're often the worst offenders, because intelligence doesn't prevent you from failure, it just gives you more sophisticated ways to fail. So what's the solution? The best founders don't try to eliminate these biases. That's impossible. Instead, they build systems to protect themselves from their own mind. Jeff Bezos created the disagree and commit principle at Amazon. You're required to voice your disagreement, and then the team commits to a decision together. Ray Dalio built radical transparency into Bridgewater's culture. Every meeting is recorded. Every decision is challenged. Steve Jobs brought Tim Cook into Apple specifically because Cook would tell him when he was wrong. These founders understood something crucial. You can't trust your own judgment completely. You need external systems, dissenting voices, and hard metrics that force you to confront reality. Intelligence doesn't prevent failure. It just gives you more sophisticated ways to fail. The question isn't whether you're biased, you are. The question is, are you building safeguards against your own mind?